these points here are not generating, they're tapping. This is like the Northern Lights, okay? It's not the Northern Lights, but it's like, it has that, if you looked at the Northern Lights and sped it up and amplified it 50 times in the sky, everybody's looking up, it's beautiful, it's radiant, and it's, it seems like a light show at a rock concert, like the Grateful Dead light show, but this doesn't, it's not mechanically generated. It's like a, you know, those, like a Tesla, what do they call it, a Tesla coil, or that, they have those things that you, the energy is out like spider webs, and you touch the ball, you know, and it'll touch your finger and the energy goes to it. That's what this is like, only you're in these people and this is up in the sky. Very beautiful light show.
Dick Allgire's second session for this target has two themes. The first is the sense of large and well-constructed underground chambers that are connected with tunnels. The second theme is the idea of native people on the surface, that is not underground, involved in agricultural pursuits. Before making any conclusions, let us also look at the sessions by Daz Smith for this target, focusing on how the fully completed Great Pyramid of Giza was used for its originally intended purpose. Daz did one session for this target, and in that session he noted that the structure's placement on land is key to this target. Life, land, and structure are working as one for some intended purpose or goal. He perceives the massive angular structure that was a monumental and long undertaking. Daz notes that the result of constructing this structure will involve some manipulation of the environment. He accurately describes the structure as having sloped sides. There is also some kind of walkway or ramp to the structure, which is an accurate description for the original layout of the structure. Then Daz states that the purpose of the structure is to assist in the communication with God or higher beings. Crucially, the building of the structure is perceived to be as important as the resulting finished structure. Daz clearly notes in his session that whatever the original purpose of the structure, its original purpose seems now to be lost somehow. Daz clearly draws the pyramidal shape of the structure that is constructed with large blocks, observing that when finished, it is gleaming and white. Again and again, he draws the pyramidal shape of the multi-layered structure. Well, it clearly seems that the original purpose of the Great Pyramid of Giza was not simply to serve as a burial chamber. Something active was going on. Somehow, the pyramid was part of an effort to channel energy, perhaps planetary energy, and to use this energy for some spiritually related purpose. Moreover, this energy was apparently quite real, not an imaginary thing. Given the effort required to build the Great Pyramid of Giza and the other connecting pyramids located on Giza and elsewhere on the planet, one can only assume that those who organized this effort knew something real about how to use the available energy for some kind of communication purpose, something that we may not yet know about or understand. But let's take this one step at a time. We have lots more data to go through. In fact, let's backtrack to examine something real and practical, which is how the builders managed to transport those big stone blocks from the quarry where they were originally mined to the construction site on Giza, approximately 800 kilometers or 500 miles away. This brings us to our fifth target for this series. Specifically, the target is the transportation of the largest rocks used in the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Beginning with Dick Allgire, He conducted 2 sessions for this target. In his first session, he describes a great many people collectively working with stone. The people are densely packed in their work environment. Dick clearly describes the solid stone blocks at the target site and the masses gathered together near those blocks in a scene that reminds the viewer of an old city central plaza. There is an elevated energy event that is witnessed by many subjects. Then, in his second session for this target, the viewer describes something that moves through the air and seems to impact the ground at some point. Now, Daz Smith also did 2 sessions for this target. In his first session, Daz describes an indigenous society from the ancient past that is based on slaves and masters. Yet there is great social change in progress, with some new subjects arriving from far away in vehicles or ships with new knowledge, new ideas, new medical knowledge, and new technology. An old system of beliefs falls away among the indigenous subjects, and subjects depart from the area with their families in large numbers. All this change happens over a decade or 2. The newly arrived subjects are enlightened travelers and explorers, and they are the ones who start this new golden age in a short period of time. The primary location perceived by this viewer is an ancient city with temples. The viewer describes the basic physical layout of the pyramid's internal structure, as well as the arrangement with another pyramid situated in a wide landscape. Some of the structures have extensive construction underground. Let's closely watch Daz in a session recorded live as he explores his perceptions of this target.
It feels very laborious. It's labor. It's hard. It's taking a lot of time and manpower. Working in groups. Overseers. So the groups are smaller, intense, and they know each other. With a tiered structure. There feels like a dominant element with others underneath. And then these feel like they work harder, as always, I suppose. Almost like a slave-master relationship. Okay, and I feel like there's a belief, a strong belief, religious feel to the life, and that feels like it's part of the reason behind their drive and their purpose and everything they do. Or everything I feel that they're doing within this target, including the building of the structures, stems from a solid purpose and belief. But I do feel that there's a problem here. And it feels like an outside force shatters that belief. Changes it forever. And this feels like it's an outside influence of other life forms. It's hard to put my finger on. I want to say travelers. It feels like life that has traveled. And brought new ideas and knowledge. So there's definitely a society that looks like it has a couple of structures to it. Some with more knowledge above a lower structure, a bit like a slave-master relationship, as we have nowadays to some degree. The slaves seem to be working harder, working manually, but there doesn't seem to be any massive discontent there. Both parts of this structure seem to be belief-driven. There's a real purpose behind what they're doing, and what they're doing is also leading to structures or components being built and moved, rising structures. But I do see that a problem occurs, which feels like it's an outside force, which really shakes and shatters their beliefs, changes them completely from then onwards. And I think that this outside influence feels like it's from another bunch of life forms that I would class as travelers. They traveled a long way. They felt like they've come a long way, and then they impart knowledge, new ideas, which changes the way of life of this previous group. Okay, so yeah, an outside interruption in this society, and from what looked like predominantly male life forms, they travel a long distance in vehicles which feel like I have to name them ships. Their intent was mainly peaceful. They didn't intend any harm at all, but I think that just their interaction alone did cause some harm, but I don't think it was violent harm. But they had the power to use violence if they needed to. I feel they may have done, but I don't think that was the whole problem of the interaction. What they did do, though, they did share knowledge and ideas, which did open the eyes and change the patterns and the social makeup of the indigenous people in some way. May have even stopped them building, because I have a feeling that this had an effect on these rising structures. There's a connection between the information transfer or the knowledge that was given over and the rising structures, or the structures that were a big part of the indigenous life at the time, a big part of what they were doing, their ideas, their philosophy, their whole belief system. So yeah, a big outside influence here from someone from far away that traveled a vast distance.
In his second session for this target, Daz Smith describes artificially created energy involved in moving objects. The energy is frequency-based, possibly involving sound. It seems to resemble magnetism in the sense of its effect on objects. The viewer clearly describes subjects moving large rectangular blocks. Part of the movement appears to lift the blocks off of the surface such that they float while the subjects guide them into place. Thus, the subjects are not lifting the large blocks. Something else is doing that, but the subjects are guiding the blocks that appear to be floating in mid-air. The viewer describes how the large blocks are moved up ramps while being assisted by energy. It is a combination of both low and high tech. Because of the energy that lifts the blocks, moving them is not difficult. Daz notes that it is as if the blocks are sitting on a cushion of air. Many of these perceptions were recorded live in riveting detail.
Okay, yeah, so there's definitely something solid. It feels blocky. So it's solid. It feels man-made or manipulated. positioned. Very strange this. The energy, this feels like there's an energy involved. So I'm going to do it like this, because this is how it feels. So it's an energy. And it feels buffered. Or it feels like it's buffering. Almost like wind, but with an element of sound. I can hear a hum, a deep, low noise. Not annoying, but there's a noise there and it's everywhere. So yeah, solid object, solid. Blocky. You feel moved. I want to say pushed by life, manipulated, but pushed isn't right. More like assisted into position. Yeah, there's more than one. There's groups of these guys, and some maybe even pulling. Yeah, so it feels like, definitely feels like there's quite big, solid, heavy man-made structures or objects here, and they feel like they're being assisted into position, almost like pushed and pulled, but that doesn't feel like, the pushing and pulling doesn't feel like it's the only or primary source here. There's this energy, and I can't exactly tell where this is coming from at the moment, but it feels like it's everywhere around the life and the structures. And this feels like it's buffering and blowing, and it kind of has this cyclic, repeating but powerful motion. It buffers all around, dissipates outwards slightly, and it does feel like it's creating some kind of buffered motion, almost like I want to say it. You know, I'll have to AOL this of hovercraft at this stage, because it kind of feels like it has that kind of motion where it kind of like pushes up and outwards. In a skirt type of effect, pushes up and out, and it just feels like there's something here above it. So yeah, almost like a heavy solid object on a cushion of energy, buffered air, energy, noise, all one kind of mechanism really. So it feels like, hard to describe. It feels like something coming up, around, and then up again, moving up and around and being manipulated. This is definitely structures. This is definitely solid, heavy. Man-made structures. I'm going to have to AOL blocks. These feel like they're being assisted and manipulated into place, rising, up and around, rising, as part of some grand structure. And I feel like they're being placed, being moved, positioned, placed. Some of it's manual labor, but it does feel assisted by some kind of, I want to say sound energy. I'm not sure sound is the right word. I mean, sound is involved in this, but it's not wholly sound on its own. It's almost like a sound plus. So they start off lower, they're moving up and around a structure and up, almost like on a platform. assisted movement on a platform up and around a structure into place. So I get this stage of detail here. So I'm going to slide and describe more detail. Okay, definite block feel here. Feels heavy, solid, and there are men or males. There's more than one. They're at all sides of this thing.